Noorsign Books presents Ramadan Miracles, Stories of Faith Found in the Ordinary. The Scaffolding of Mercy, Part 1, The Wall of Silence. Sarajevo, the 19th morning of Ramadan. A hammer beats against stone in the freezing dark of Bashtarshiya. Dražen Kovačević has been rebuilding a ruined mosque alone for 7 years, with scarred hands, stubborn ghosts, and a son's notebook he cannot bring himself to read. But when an unexpected letter and an American architect arrive on the same day, the wall he has built around himself begins to crack, and a harder question emerges. What does it mean to be patient when the reward feels impossible? Talk. 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 That was the first sound of the 19th morning of Ramadan. Not the adhan, not Al-Quran, not whispered dua. It was a hammer beating against stone in the freezing dark of Bashtarshiya. Talk. 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 The sound ricocheted through the old alleys of Sarajevo, slipped past shuttered cafes and sleeping shops, and slid down toward the river, where the trams still dreamed on their tracks. Under a single yellow work light, a pair of hands held a block of limestone above a bed of wet mortar. The hands were scarred, cracked, polished gray with lime. One ring finger ended bluntly, missing its tip. The man's name was Dražen Kovačević. He lowered the stone into place, nudged it once, twice, then brought the hammer down. Talk. Talk. 14 stones remained on this course. He knew that without counting. He always knew how many stones were left. It was how he measured time now, by weight, not by hours. He stepped back on the narrow plank that served as his scaffold and narrowed his eyes at the southeast wall. The shell of the ruined mosque rose around him, 3 walls rebuilt waist-high, one side still open to the sky like a wound. He had been building here for 7 years, not with a permit, not with a committee, just with his back, his stubbornness, and his ghosts. He reached for the next stone. The adhan cut through the cold. Allahu Akbar! Allahu Akbar! The call floated from the surviving neighborhood mosque, minaret still standing by some miracle of angle and shrapnel. Another adhan joined it farther away, then another, a layered chorus rolling over the city. Usually, the adhan slid past him like the river, there, then gone. This time, a line snagged. Indeed, the patient will be given their reward without account. The mu'azzin's voice settled into the silence after the adhan, reciting quietly. Dražen had heard this ayah before. Tonight, the Bosnian words, plain, worn, close, landed somewhere deep, like a stone in an empty bucket. The patient will be given their reward without account. His right hand froze halfway to the mortar. Without a stone in it, his hand shook. Always. It had shaken since 1995. But with a stone's weight, it steadied. Steadied. Reward. He did not build for reward. He built because his hands did not know what else to do. Patience? Maybe. Patience was stone after stone, winter after winter. Patience was silence. But reward, that word did not fit in his mouth. Hayya ala salah. Come to prayer. The words lingered long after they passed. He set the stone down too hard. Mortar squeezed out in a gray tongue. He scraped it away, eyes on the line, heart on nothing. Talk. 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 By the time the prayer ended, the stone was set. His hand had stopped shaking. The wall rose. His prayer rug stayed rolled. The city began its fast. He kept building. By 8 o'clock, Bashcharshiya had woken. Shutters rolled up. Coppersmiths beat bright rhythms a street over. The smell of burek drifted thick and buttery from the bakery door each time it opened. Dražen moved through it like a ghost with a bucket. "Salam, Amija," the boy from the coffee shop called, broom in hand. "Salam," Dražen muttered, not slowing. At the hardware shop, the owner leaned out between plastic buckets. "Kameni, Amija, need anything?" "Later." He turned into the narrow lot hemmed in by 3 tired Austro-Hungarian facades, flicked on the single work light. The shell of the mosque glowed pale and unfinished, his southeast wall like a square wave of frost. He folded his jacket over a crate. On it lay his tools: trowel, hammer, measuring tape, mason string, and a small cardboard-covered notebook. He opened the notebook. Pages of numbers, wall lengths, heights, window placements. On the inside cover, in a younger, surer hand, the original figures: mihrab depth, angle of al-qibla, load calculations. His son's handwriting, not his. He closed it again. The day passed in stone and silence. He measured by shadow. When the sun climbed to the 3rd rung of the scaffold, he flexed his fingers. When it reached the top, he washed his hands at the public tap, the water biting. He did not sit for coffee with the men at Girlo. He did not linger by the Sebül fountain to watch tourists throw crumbs to pigeons. He came back, climbed, counted stones. Tok, tok, tok. In late afternoon, 3 teenagers cut through the lot. "Sorry, Amija," one yelled when his kicked pebble clanged off a bucket. "Then don't kick what you can't carry," Dražen said without looking down. They laughed. The bravest stepped closer. "Uncle Stone, when will the mosque be finished?" "When the last stone is in." "And then?" "Then it will be finished." Tok, tok, tok. "Heya, go. Your mothers will think the Serbs took you." The word slipped out, by habit, bitter and old. The boys snickered, unbothered by a war they only knew from their grandparents' sighs. At Al-Maghrib, the cannon on the hill boomed, announcing iftar. The mu'azzin's voice followed. Dražen wiped his tools, climbed down, and crossed the courtyard to his semi-basement apartment. 2 plates already waited on the checked plastic tablecloth. 5 minutes later, someone knocked. Dražen Petrović pushed the door open with his shoulder, an aluminum pot cradled in his hands. "I brought sarma," he said, "before you ask." "I wasn't going to ask," Dražen lied. The smell of cabbage and meat had reached him halfway down the stairs. "No, because you never ask." Dražen set the pot on the table, lifted the lid. Steam rushed out, carrying vinegar and pepper and 30 years of shared meals. They sat. Dražen broke his fast with a date from the plate Sanada kept refilling for him, a neighbor's quiet insistence on the sunnah. Dražen waited until he'd eaten, then reached for bread of his own. He did not fast, but he would never eat first in Ramadan. "You're thinner," Dražen observed, as he did every year. "So is the wall," Dražen replied. "You still didn't put insulation in the east side. It'll be a freezer in January. You'll have to sleep in my kitchen. I won't be here in January." The cutlery stilled. "Where will you be?" Dražen asked. "Under the ground with the stones," answered, "making room for your fat bones." It was easier to talk about his own death than theirs. Dražen snorted, wiped sauce from the table with a thumb. "You think you can get rid of me that easily, Dražo?" They ate in a silence that had long ago stopped being awkward. On the other side of the thin wall, Taraweh began, Quran flowing and stopping, flowing and stopping. At the sink, washing dishes, Dražen asked without turning, "When it's finished, what will you do?" Finish the next wall. There is always another wall, Dražen said softly. Then what is your complaint? I do not complain. A ghost of a smile. I only ask questions. That's worse. At the door, pot under his arm, he paused. You didn't eat last night, he said. I ate. You put bread in your mouth and took it out again. Tomorrow I bring nothing. We'll see how you like that. It would save you cabbage. Bože moj. He sighed, then left. When the quiet closed in, Dražen went to the bedroom, sat on the edge of the bed, bent to untie his boots, and didn't. His hands locked around each other, fingers gripping like stones afraid to fall. The letter lay on his crate the next morning, pinned under a chunk of broken masonry. At first, he thought it was scrap paper. Then he saw the crest in the corner. Stari Grad, Department of Urban Planning. His stomach tightened. He opened it with a lime-rough thumb. The paper was too white, too clean for this place. Notice of intended redevelopment. Site, former Hajjiska Mosque, parcel number 141/7. Proposal, designation as Memorial Park and Urban Green Space, Project Roses of Sarajevo. All unauthorized construction to cease immediately pending community consultation. Memorial Park, Urban Green Space. For years, the municipality had ignored him, a ghost in ruins. Now there was money, an NGO, a project name. He read the letter twice. The words didn't change. He looked up at his wall. 14 stones on this course, 3 courses to go. Then the roof. Memorial Park. For whom? For him? For his boys, whose names were not carved into any black marble at Potocari? For the women who tied their headscarves too tight and stared at the river in summer? His hand folded the letter carefully, corners sharp, and slid it into his jacket pocket beside the notebook. The wall did not crack. The light did not flicker. He took off his jacket, picked up the trowel, and set the next stone. Tuck, tuck, tuck. His hands were not as steady. By afternoon, the sky bruised. The wind found every gap in his clothes. Around 4, a taxi engine growled at the mouth of the alley. It did not belong here among brass coffee sets and tourists' trinkets. A young woman stepped out, balancing a leather bag and a cardboard tube. She crossed into the lot, boots crunching on gravel. Dobar dan, she called. Her Bosnian was clean, textbook, and American. Are you Mr. Kovačević? He climbed down from the scaffold and stood facing her. I am. I'm Amira Hadjic, from the Center for Sacred Spaces and Community Development in Chicago. He let the name hang between them. Sacred Spaces, he repeated. Yes, we work with post-conflict communities. Designing, she stopped herself. We collaborate with local stakeholders to rebuild or reimagine damaged sites, masajid, churches, community centers. Stakeholders. That would be me, you, the municipality, the neighbors. She nodded at the surrounding buildings. The people who live and pray here. I live here. I don't pray here. Something flickered in her eyes, then settled. The municipality asked us to prepare an alternative proposal, she said, instead of the Memorial Park, a multi-faith community center with a prayer space, a kitchen, classrooms. Her hand touched the tube. I'm presenting the design on the 23rd night. I wanted to see your work before then. My work is walls, he gestured. Nothing to understand. She stepped inside the shell, studying joints, angles, the curve of the half-built mihrab. Did you have plans? She asked. He jerked his chin at the crate. Notebook from the old drawings. And your memory? She said. My son's memory. He was engineer, structures. You learned from him? I learned from work. His shoulder twinged. He learned from books. But he told me numbers, angles, things I couldn't see. He did not say he was supposed to build bridges we would cross. She unrolled her plans. On the paper, his lot had become lines and color blocks, a glass hall, a small masala labeled in neat print, bigger words for community kitchen, interfaith lounge, a stylized tree's roots spread under everything. "We don't have to erase the past," she said quickly. "We can keep parts of this wall as a historical element, a memorial inside the new structure." "As decorative ruin?" he said. "As memory," she corrected. "Living memory." The word tasted strange. His stones did not feel decorative. "The municipality wants everyone's input," she added. "Mr. Drakovic asked me to invite you to the consultation on the 23rd night. Kemal," he said, flat. "He sent you." She nodded. He stared at her crisp plans, at his rough wall. "If I tell you this is not your place?" he asked. "With respect," she said, meeting his eyes, "it's not only yours either." She left her business card on his crate, architect, a small logo of Mithna and steeple intertwined. Then she walked back to her taxi and disappeared into the city. He put his hand on the southeast wall, palm against cold stone. For the first time in 7 years, he did not know where the next stone should go. You've been listening to Ramadan Miracles, a Noorsign Books original. Dražen Kovačević has spent 7 years rebuilding a wall. But walls, he is learning, can also keep mercy out. As the 23rd night approaches, and with it a choice between his silence and a future he never imagined, the question is not whether the mosque will be finished. The question is whether the mason can let anyone else hold the stone. If you enjoyed this, please subscribe and hit the bell so you don't miss the next miracle. Visit noorsignbooks.com to join our community and get the full collection. Jazakumullah khairan.